So hip abduction strength, we all need it, and these are a few exercises that you can do for an advanced client. We're gonna show you, or I'm gonna show you the picking flowers variation of side splits. I have one heavy spring. Don't forget your non-slip mats here, and we're gonna come up into parallel, pressing through. So make sure that you've got the right spring weight. We want to make sure the pelvis isn't wiggling around, and once you find a good distance, we're going to hold the width in the carriage. We're going to reach back with those sit bones, allow those proximal hamstrings to lengthen, fold forward, and then come back up. So the trick is, do not lose the strength in those abductors as we move through range. So we're getting some really nice hip abduction strength through varying degrees of hip flexion with this one. So coming back up and then return. We also have to be careful that the pelvis remains neutral until we get there, because oftentimes people will sort of go into an anterior tilt with these to cheat. So just be mindful on what their hips are doing. So moving on. We're going to take these away because we don't need these guys anymore. We're going to go into 3-point kneeling with the Reformer box. So I'm going to grab this guy here. We're going to put this on top. And I'm going to have the box somewhat close to the edge, maybe like an inch away. We don't want it right at the edge because it can get a little unstable. And then let's say one medium spring or one blue spring, depending on your client. But again, if you're working with an advanced client, then you're going to want to make sure you're using something that's challenging them but also safe. So keeping the strap in your hand, we're going to make sure that it's doubled if possible. Good, and we're going to slip that onto the foot, bring that over here, and then bring the stance leg back a little bit. So we're sort of starting in this 4-point position. I've got two hands on the front corners. We're going to let the leg off to the side, and we're going to do this circumduction movement. Oh, that is heavy. So we're going to come through and circle back. Nice. And making sure we are keeping the pelvis from wiggling around here, right? So we don't want to collapse through the stance leg. We're going to keep everything nice and square as much as possible, and then return. So you can absolutely switch directions. I will warn you, there's a lot of load in through that shoulder. If you want to be really nice, or really mean, I should say, you can stay in that circumduction plane or that circumduction movement by circumducting to the back and then circumducting back to the front. There's a ton of core with this one. So again, be careful when you are choosing your spring weight. We're going to put that back and we'll move on to the next one. So last hip abduction exercise, we're going to be in 4-point again, except we are going to be sideways on the carriage itself. So this one's a little bit tricky. You're going to grab that strap and then make sure that you're comfortable on the carriage like this. And then we're going to try and make sure that we thread it onto the far foot here. So it's just below my ankle, but if you do have someone that has difficulty, you can always double up the strap and kind of loop it over their foot as well, depending on how big their body size is. I have one medium spring. We're going to go into 4-point here. We're going to reach that leg back, and then we're going to abduct towards the front of the Reformer. So this one requires a lot of stability from the stance leg as well. Ooh, don't lose it. And then we're going to press through. It's really easy for people to start to drop the leg further. And so keeping them honest is really helpful. You might want to give them a little bit of a tactile cue to make sure that they're getting the strengthening that they need. So a lot of core and a lot of work through the stance leg as well. You can absolutely increase the weight as needed, but it's kind of nice to layer on that core strengthening as we do the abduction, because we do know that all of those things do integrate really well.